Kodanitai Maya Poshashi Kodanitai Maya Poshashi Jaya Kodanitai Maya Poshashi Kodanitai Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Iskon Guru Vinda Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shishi Kodanitai Maya Poshashi Ki So reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. This is Volume 6, Uniting Two Worlds. This is between 1975 and 1977. On another morning walk in Denver, Tamal Krishna Goswami told Prabhupada that some of the devotees were reading books about health diets and avoiding prasadam offered to the deity in the temple. Shishikonitai Maya Pashashi Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada immediately replied that this was not good. Fasting, he acknowledged, was good for health, but the devotees should not become weak. They should take prasadam and do their work. When one of the devotees told Prabhupada he got drowsy after eating heavily of grains and therefore preferred food, Prabhupada said that was all right. Fruit was offered to the deity. When Yadavar said that in Los Angeles, the family is often cooked in their own homes instead of taking the prasadam of the deity, Bhagavananda Goswami testified how wonderful it was at the Mayapur festival when hundreds of devotees sat down and took prasadam together. Prabhupada, yes, what is the difficulty? Chapatis, rice, they are innocent foods. What is the difficulty? Harikesh. A lot of devotees are quoting you. They say there is no need to eat grains and that you said that grains were for the animals. But I am eating grains. I tell them that. They say, Prabhupada saying, they say Prabhupada says, then you believe that. Prabhupada said that the devotee should not listen to health advice if it resulted in their refusing to honor the Lord's prasadam. Prabhupada. Therefore, follow taking prasadam, let whatever may happen. Tama Krishna. Let us die eating prasadam. You can try that in a minute. Prabhupada. Yes, laughter. That is devotee. But we must prepare very first-class foodstuff. And then there is the complaint if it is. Then where is the complaint if it is first class? Returning from the walk, Srila Prabhupada continued to discuss the topic in Srimad Bhagavatam class. I was hearing that we are not taking prasadam, especially the grihastas. No, that is not good. You should take prasadam. Prabhupada described how bhakti yoga begins with controlling the tongue by chanting and eating Krishna prasadam. So in our branches, he continued, all the devotees take prasadam together. That is nice. Why we should not be liking to take prasadam in the temple? Where is the fault? No, this is not good. Everyone should take prasadam. It is called prasad seva, service, not prasadam enjoyment. Prasadam means giving service. Prasadam is as good as Krishna and should be respected as good as Krishna. So one must have faith that it is not material. Those who are attached to the Krishna consciousness movement and are attached to the service, they should take prasadam. First class prasadam. Everyone likes the taste of prasadam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I've just been reading that the Chaitanya Charitamrita Fela, Krishna's Fela, what Chaitanya is remarking on. We just take these ingredients, camphor, black pepper, sugar, but why does it taste so amazing? All the devotees are all saying how amazing it tastes. He says this is because Krishna has tasted it first, and his salava or his Fela is in the prasad. So that's why it tastes amazing. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, Lord Vishnudeva's Teachings, Text 16. Loka Swaya Shreyasi Nashtadrishtir. Loka Swayam Shreyasi Nashtadrishtir. Yo Ritan Samihita Nikama Kama Yoratan Samihita Nikama Kama Anyonya Vaira Sukha Lesha Heto Anyonya Vaira Sukha Lesha Heto Ananta Dukam Cha Na Veda Muda Ananta Dukam Chana Veda Muda Loka Swayam Shreyasi Nashtadrishtir Yoritam Samihita Nikama Kama Anyonya Vaira Sukhalesha Heto Ananta Dukam Chanaveda Mudha Loka Swayam Shreyasi Nashtadrishtir Yoritan Samihita Nikama Kama Anyonya Vaira Sukhalesha Heto Ananta Dukam Chanaveda Mudha
Loka Swayam Shreyasi Nashtadrishtir Yotan Samiheta Nikama Kama Anyonya Vaira Sukhalesha Heto
Anyonya Vaira Sukhalesha Heto
Ananta Dukam Chanaveda Muda
Ananta Dukam Chanaveda Mudha Loka Swayam Shreyasi Nashtadrishtir
Yotan Samiheta Nikama Kama
Anyonya Vaira Sukhalesha Heto Ananta Dukam Chanaveda Mudha
Loka Swayam Shreyasi Nashtadrishtir
Loka Swayam Shreyasi Nashtadrishtir
Yohitam Samihita Nikama Kama
Yoritam Samihita Nikama Kama
Anyonya Varai Sukhalesha Heto
Anyonya Vaira Sukhalesha Heto
Ananta Dukam Chanaveda Mudha
Ananta Dukam Chanaveda Mudha Mataji's Loka Swayam Shreyasi Nashtadrishtir Yoritam Samihita Nikama Kama Anyonya Vaira Sukhalesha Heto Ananta Dukam Chanaveda Mudha Loka People Swayam personally Shreyasi of the path of auspiciousness Nashtadrishti who have lost sight Yaha who Artan things meant for sense gratification Samiheta desire Nikama Kama having too many lusty desires for sense enjoyment Anyonya Vaira, being envious of one another. Sukhikesha Heto, simply for temporary material happiness. Anantadukam, unlimited sufferings. Cha, also. Na, do not. Veda, no. Mudha, foolish. Due to ignorance, the materialistic person does not know anything about his real self-interest, the auspicious path in life. He is simply bound to material enjoyment by lusty desires, and all his plans are made for this purpose. For temporary sense gratification, such a person creates a society of envy, and due to this mentality, he plunges into the ocean of suffering. Such a foolish person does not even know about this. So responsibly, please. Due to ignorance, the materialistic person does not know anything about his real self-interest, the auspicious path in life. He is simply bound to material enjoyment by lusty desires, and all his plans are made for this purpose. For temporary sense gratification, such a person creates a society of envy. And due to this mentality, he plunges into the ocean of suffering. Such a foolish person does not even know about this. The word Nashtadristi, meaning one who has no eyes to see the future, is very significant in this verse. Life goes on from one body to another, and the activities performed in this life are enjoyed or suffered in the next life, if not later in this life. One who is unintelligent, who has no eyes to see the future, simply creates enmity and fights with others for sense gratification. As a result, one suffers in the next life. But due to being like a blind man, he continues to act in such a way that he suffers unlimitedly. Such a person is a mudha, one who simply wastes his time and does not understand the Lord's devotional service. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.25, Naham prakasha sava sha yoga maya samavrita mudo yam nabijanati loko mam ajam avyayam. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my eternal creative potency yoga maya. And so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. In the Katha Upanishad, it is also said, Avidyayam antare vadmana swayam dira pandita manyam mana. Although ignorant, people still go to other blind men for leadership. As a result, both are subjected to miserable conditions. The blind lead the blind into the ditch. Om Jnana Timiranda Shyaganandana Shalakaya Chakshramritam Jaina Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vatali Gaura Bhattarinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. If anyone's feeling sleepy, they're very welcome to stand up. So, translation. Due to ignorance, materialistic person does not know anything about his real self-interest and the auspicious path of life. He is simply bound to material enjoyment by lusty desires, and he has plans. He makes plans for this purpose, temporary sense gratification. He creates a society of envy due to this mentality, and he plunges into the ocean of suffering. So I don't know if anyone's seen it, but there's a video of a shop in America on Black Friday, and this lady has sort of a massive, what do they call them, LCD screens? Those big televisions. Mm-hmm. She's got one end of it anyway, and the other lady's got the other end. So there's a bit of a tug of war going on. There's a lot of people in the shop as well, actually barging past, trying to grab things off the shelf. There's quite a commotion going on. And anyway, there's this tug of war going on, and it doesn't look like either one's actually going to get it. So one of them decides this isn't going to work. So she lets go of her end of the telly and decides to do a bit of fisticuff on the other one, which works quite well actually, because then she punches the other person in the face, she lets go of the telly and she can grab hold of it. Unfortunately, during the course of the whole transaction, the TV gets broken. So that, I suppose you could say that's an intense, very graphic picture of what a society of envy is. And unfortunately, before I joined the Hare Krishna movement, I was studying advertising in college in Stockport, doing a foundation course. And our teacher, Mr. Nightingale, told us that what we have to do, we have our average Joe Carmi walking down the road, and he's as happy as can be. And we need to hit him with an image that makes him feel that unless he gets this, he's inferior or there's something wrong with him in some way. So we have to create a feeling of dissatisfaction in this person, so that then he'll go ahead and he'll go and get the money to buy the product that he thinks he'll need. That'll get him the girl in the bikini suit, or get him a place on the desert island with the palm tree hanging over the whatever it is they're trying to sell. And after the Second World War, that economist Keynes said, now vice has to become virtue, and virtue has to become vice, because economic development is impeded by virtue. So let's abandon the virtues, and let's nurture the dark side of human nature, and let's create a society of envy, so that whatever you've got, someone has always got something better than you, and everyone's competing for sense gratification. And you may think, oh well, at least if I do get I get a few £1 million, at least then I can look around and think, well, at least I'm at the top of the hill, and I can look down on everybody else. But they interview people that are at the top of the hill, and they're not happy either. So the society of envy doesn't work. And Maharaj Rishabdev is trying to instruct his sons and the entire society to avoid this society of envy. And it's not that by putting on a dhoti and putting some yellow clay on your forehead and jumping up and down and saying Hari Bol 3 times, and that's it, all over. Now you're no longer in the society of envy. You no longer have those bad habits and traits. We take it all in with us. Unfortunately, we've been infected by the material energy, contaminated in different ways, and so we take these tendencies into devotional service. So it's counterintuitive to be humble. It's counterintuitive to be non-envious, to appreciate and glorify others. It's not the way we've been wired, unfortunately. Our second nature is just to be like that. And if we're brought up in a society where these qualities are already cultivated in us, then that's really good. But generally, it's not. But at least the first step is we accept. Okay, well, I believe that this is the good thing. I read all these virtues: non-violent, be clean, be humble. Well, that's good. I'm into that. I'm on board. So that's great. That's the first step. But that's not it. Just because you believe it doesn't necessarily mean you're practicing it, you see. So this is the second step. Okay, now can I turn Gyan into Vigyan? Can I make it a part of my by the way I conduct myself? So that's the challenge. And if you can do that, if you can start to live according to what you believe is right, then Krishna consciousness starts to take on another dimension, because we start to be able to realize and become more aware of things. Anyway, we're trying to safeguard Karnadana Ivanavam. We think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence. We need help. Guru doesn't just mean Diksha Guru, who gives you a different name and you give him a banana, throw a banana in the fire. Guru means also one who helps, sometimes on a day-to-day basis. The tower president is organizing services, and then different people get put in charge of different things. And so we cooperate with each other, and we accept direction, feedback, and we accept that we need it as well. We think, okay, I need some help. If we don't think we need any help, then we really need help. If we need some help, then that's good that we see that we need some help. If you don't think you need any help, then you need to review the situation, because we all need help. We all need guiding. If you're in a boat and the captain's trying to guide the boat and Four of the people on the ship don't think it's really the right direction to go in. And the boat eventually breaks and everybody sinks. So we have to all be on board with the direction and align ourselves. So we don't want a society of envy. And it's interesting the way Krishna consciousness works, because it's actually the reverse, because you'd think, okay, well, he's really advanced. He fasted for 3 days and he's so advanced, because I saw him chanting japa this morning and he was standing on the tip of his toe for 2 hours. Now that is advanced. He is so, and see him over there. I've been watching him 3 weeks. He's only eaten 1 chickpea. He is so advanced. And so then we think, well, I'm going to be even more. I'm going to go for half a chickpea. I'm going to be on my toe 3 hours. I'm going to be the coolest, most far out, most advanced. I am the bee's knees. I am the man. I am the Krishna Oprah. So we think we'll do it like that. And actually, what happens is you just go further back. You don't go forward. I'm going to distribute 5,000 books this week. I'm going to, But actually, what happens is, because your estimation of yourself increases, and you think now that you're a really advanced, far out devotee, and everyone should show you some respect, you actually end up going backwards. It's the opposite of the way it's an interesting sensation. That when you feel like you're going backwards in Krishna consciousness and everyone else is better than you and you're worthless and you're useless at this and you're useless at that and you're not qualified, you're going forward in terms of being, your humility and your appreciation of being given an opportunity and your appreciation of getting the association of devotees. Now, sometimes devotees can feel a little bit threatened. They can think, well, if I'm humble, then does that mean I'm going to be like the temple mat? Oh, there's Peru, can you just lie down in front of the, because we've just been in the field and our boots are really muddy, and we know that you're humble and we need to wipe them on something, and you're okay with that, aren't you, Peru? Because you're really humble, right? Okay, so then everyone's rubbing their boots on him because, well, no, it's okay because it's back to Bob. He's so humble. This guy doesn't. You can rub it in his face. It's fine with it. It's okay. So we're thinking, well, if I'm going to be humble and have such a low estimation of myself, I'm going to get taken advantage of. But actually, it's the opposite way around. In Krishna consciousness, when you're a very humble devotee, everybody wants your association. They're all thinking, wow, I wish I could be like him. He's such a nice devotee. I always feel so encouraged when I'm around him. He doesn't look down on me. He actually thinks that I'm of some value, And then we want to get that person's association, because in his association, we become nourished. So that's very encouraging, to experience a lack of false ego and experience how you can have a nourishing effect on other people by your association. So that kind of compensates for maybe feeling unworthy or insignificant, because at the same time you're empowering devotees to go ahead and become enthusiastic in their devotional service. And so that's for everybody to do. Everybody should be trying to do that. Vacha Vega, Manasakrodya Vega, Rupa Goswami is saying, then you can become qualified to make disciples all over the world. So that's the very first instruction in the nectar of instruction. So certainly if we're trying to become qualified to do that, then certainly become qualified to empower each other, inspire each other in devotional service. Then if you see a devotee is really humble and he's really happy, and you're thinking, the false ego told me if I was that humble, I'd be really miserable, but it doesn't seem to be that case with him, And over here, he's really proud, and yet he's really miserable. But my false ego is telling me, no, I've got your back. Don't let anyone put you down, and you'll be fine. You'll be happy as anything. But the devotees that are really proud are the ones that are really miserable. And the ones that are really humble are the ones that are really happy. Don't know if you ever noticed that. If you ever go to a temple, the happy ones are the humble ones. And the proud ones are wondering when they're going to get caught out. So it's envy if we have material, and if we have lusty desires and we're bound by those desires for material enjoyment, then we plonk ourselves into the society of envy. So not a good deal to sign up for, become part of a society where, before I was going to join the Hare Krishna movement, I was going to go to the kibbutz in Israel. And in the kibbutz in Israel, nobody gets paid. You get tokens, and everyone gets the same amount of tokens, whether you're a window cleaner or you're building a bridge or working in a hospital. Everyone gets their tokens, and then with your tokens, you can go to the kibbutz shop and get a pair of jeans or a pint of milk or whatever it is that you want to get. And no one's better than anybody else. Everyone gets the same. And I thought, this is great. This sounds like this is where I want to go and be part of things. But along the way, I was intercepted by some devotees, and they told me about Chaitanya College. And I thought, okay, I'm going to check it out. Any questions or comments? Yes?
I've heard that it's actually can be good to have some competition in devotional service, right? So you might sometimes get envious that devotees doing something better, but it actually can be good. It's like, for example, we can't give up big bad habits. Not to think about them. If we kind of engage ourselves in devotional service, then they will automatically be eradicated. That kind of similar.
Yeah, that's a really nice point. Everyone catch that point? That we're trying to get free from envy, but so we've stepped into devotional service, but we still have envy. So and so, how are we going to engage that in Krishna's service? That okay, he's just done really big on Sankirtan yesterday. I'm going to make sure I beat him tomorrow. And so you go out there to try and beat him, and maybe you beat him, maybe you don't, but at least you make a really strong endeavor to do that. So Srila Prabhupada did encourage that. He would say to one devotee, "Oh, if I tell him how much Tamil Krishna Goswami's zone has done, he'll have a heart attack." And so he was like this, getting the devotees to compete with each other, and a tremendous amount of books were going out. And so that was fine. But unfortunately, what happened with some devotees is it went too far, and they were running out that day to do the Sankirtan, and this devotee went to run out, and his shoelaces had been tied together. And the other devotee that tied his shoelaces together was able to distribute a couple of bucks before he could get his shoes on properly, And then it became an impediment. And they said that's the one thing that you can't envy in Krishna consciousness is envy. The one thing you can't engage in Krishna consciousness is envy. So competition could be there, and if you see another devotee and you think, I wish I was like that, I wish I was as enthusiastic and good at doing that as he was, then you can also see that that's an indirect way of you glorifying that devotee, that you're recognizing he has these wonderful qualities. But then if that discourages you, he's really good, he's really advanced, and I'm not. And then you become sad and discouraged. Everyone else is so good, and I'm not so good. So they say that the difference between humility and low self-esteem is with low self-esteem, you think of yourself less. With low self-esteem, you think less of yourself, and with humility, you think of yourself less. So. If we can shift from being concerned with the result, it's interesting. If you listen, I was listening to this devotee once. He was from Eastern Bloc, and he was leading a kirtan, and it was so attractive, and I couldn't work it out because he couldn't sing. He was completely tone deaf, like a foghorn when he was singing, and it was really, really attractive. And I've heard sometimes devotees singing, and it's really fancy and nice, but there's something about it that resists. It's like, this person really is enamored by themselves, and they really think they've got a fantastic voice. And I've always had a resistance to, before I became a devotee, I never bought any records or went to see any bands. I had this real thing that, well, they're just the same as me, just because they can sing. What's so special about that, So, you could look at the result, and the result may be really good, but what's even better is what's the intention behind that. And so let's not get too caught up in the externals and the superficialities of the results of what's going on. But Srila Prabhupada explains in Nectar Instruction text 6, just as for Bhagavatam and Adhoksaja dosha. He says in the purport there that when you look at a devotee, don't look at his complexion, don't look at how infirm his body is, don't look at the defects that are there, look at his service, look at the service that that devotee is doing. The devotee is steady and he's constantly trying to make an endeavor. There was one devotee, he was doing Sankirtan and he couldn't do Sankirtan very well. And at the end of the day, when the devotees would ask him, how did you do today, Guru? He'd be like, he'd say, well, how did you do? And eventually he'd say, one book. And he'd say, whenever we, try again. Go the next day. Next day, have a really good day. 2 books. Next day, 1 book. And this went on for a long time. It wasn't just a few months, it was a long time. And then one day, he came back and he was looking really, really happy. How did he do today? 100 books. And every day after that, he did 100 books. And there were other devotees that were there, and they were already doing really well on Sankirtan. But by the time he got to doing 100 books, they'd left. They'd given up on devotional service. See, sometimes in devotional service, when you first come, you may have some good karma. So your good karma means you can sing nice, you can speak nice, you can cook nice, you can give out books nice, you can make money nice. You can do it, it's great, it's not a problem because you've got good karma. But there's a certain point where the good karma runs out. You burn it off, because you burn off your bad karma, but you also burn off your good karma. So you suddenly reach a point where, oh, it's run out, no one's stopping for me, it's not working anymore. I was doing this yesterday, it's not working anymore. And now that's when devotional service starts. So some people, they get the chance to do that straight away, and some people, it hits them a few years down the line and it's a big shock. So we have to try and distinguish between the result and the endeavor. If the endeavor is good, whatever the result, and eventually the result will be good.
I was just thinking about the difference point about, having good karma and sensitivity. Sometimes that means that you kind of maybe use taste or, fall away. Does that mean, is it maybe a good idea to sometimes engage in service that you're not so good at, just to kind of keep yourself humble and, make sure that you're doing it for the right reason?
Yeah, if you, it may be that you join and you're doing a service that you find really easy to do, and then everything's fine. And then a few years down the line, suddenly your karma runs out and you're not able to do the service so well. And then because you've not been used to doing a service which is difficult, whereas if you train, it's like going to a gym and somebody's using these weights and he's like this with them, and you think, oh, these are really good. And you go over and you have a look at them, and it's not actually weights on the end of the bar, it's helium balloons. He's going, I'm doing thousands of these. Oh, unbelievable. You want to try it? And there's another guy buying one, he's like got this really heavy lead weight. And he's saying, you should try these, it's much better. You're going to do yourself, he's a great hero. You go up to the house and it's not about, you do it all day. I want to stick it out. Well, you go back a year later, this guy's massive. Like Manidal was saying, his legs now are massive because he used to put so many books, because he used to get chased by the police so he couldn't use a trolley. And he used to take a load out with him so he could last all day. And he said, he's got legs now like Incredible Hulk, So he's really strong. So if you do things that are tough, you're a bit averse to doing this service, but you think, okay, well, that's a good reason to do it. And you can toughen yourself up, you can get stronger. And then the service that you are good at doing, if at some point in the future you lose the ability to be able to do that service, but you're used now to pushing on when it's tough, then you'll just think, well, that's okay. So that's become tough. Well, that was already tough, and now it's tough again. I'm used to that. I'm getting used to this tough business. If you're going to try my Sometimes Krishna gives us a bit of tough love as well. He makes things difficult for us, which is a bit of a shake-up. So that we're not going on in our little comfort level. Because our idea of Krishna consciousness is, well, if you chant, that means you're free from all your karma, so then shouldn't be any problem after that. You should just to float around, and then anytime it gets difficult, you just go, Haribo! And then the sweet one just calls out of the clouds into your mouth. Because the demigods are helping you. Haribo! Everything's fine. That's actually liberation, and the desire for liberation is that you think, I'll take a devotional service, and then I'll be hassle-free. Hassle-free. A hassle-free is when you're floating around in the Brahmajyoti, and you've got no material body, so then there's no hassle. You're just merged in this effulgence. And some people like to be like that, but they don't want to be responsible for anything. But you said you're going to be here on time, you're 15 minutes, but why don't you just space out? And they don't want to be held accountable. But you were supposed to be here this hour. We've been waiting for 5 men, waiting 15 minutes to multiply that by 5. That means over nearly an hour and a half wasted in the devotion service could have been done because you weren't there on time. I tried my best. So what he wants to be in a situation where he's not held accountable. He wants to just float around. He wants a sleeping bag full of helium, pump it up, fill it full of sweet motion, and just floats off. Hello. Who was it? That was back to Bob. He's going for the impersonal Brahman. No hassle. Everything's fine. It's a waterproof sleeping bag, so if it's raining, no problem. Just floats away. So the ocean service isn't like that. It's a bit tough. Because Krishna's toughening us up. He's toughening up our choice muscles as well, because you have a choice all the time. You can choose to be happy. You can choose to be miserable. You can choose to be enthusiastic. You can choose not to be enthusiastic. You can choose. So you have to learn where the buttons are, and you have to build up your muscles in your arm and your fingers so you keep pressing the right buttons. Oh, it's raining. Be happy. Oh, there's not much prashadam. Be happy. Oh, it's a power cup. Be happy. Because you've got red buttons and you've got blue buttons. The blue buttons are the good ones. He was really horrible to you. Be compassionate. There was an angel, and he said to the boy, you are full of divine qualities. When you take breath, what would you like to develop? And the boy said, forgiveness. And the angel says, I'll take breath as your enemy. The boy said, enemy? Why am I an enemy? He says, so I can teach you forgiveness. So every time someone does something horrible to you, he's your friend. He's teaching you to be forgiving. He's teaching you to be compassionate. You just got to learn how to press the right buttons, make the right choices all the time. If someone's really, really miserable, he says, why are you so happy? It's not my fault. I came into Bashar and slept without having duty, and not only duty. I can't. It's not my fault. I cannot. So then he's like, it's not his fault that he's unhappy. It is his fault that he's unhappy. He can choose. You can choose to be happy people. Nobody makes you unhappy unless you agree to be in the first place. It's your choice. So to practice forgiveness, you can't blame anybody else for how you feel. Because if it's their fault for how you feel, then you're justified enough for you. But if you can accept that it's your fault how you feel, how that person behaves towards you, then you can forgive them, you can go up and give them a chocolate cake and say, I love you. You can do that if you want. You don't have to say, I hate you. I wish you were dead. I wish you were in the lowest planetary system being tortured right now by the Adhoksaja. And actually by doing that, you don't actually make him suffer, you make yourself suffer by doing that. We're not punished for our anger, we're punished by our anger. You take the blood out of a person who's angry and put it in a wrath, it kills the wrath. And it's because the toxic is released when you become angry. That's such a bad effect on the body. And they're finding out now that resentment causes cancer. With all these medical tests they've done. There's a clinic in San Diego, they've had 5,000 patients. The first thing they ask the person when he comes in, have you forgiven? And the guy goes, oh sorry, I'm in the wrong clinic, I'm not here for counselling, I'm here for cancer. And you know, you're at the right clinic, have you forgiven? And they work on that. And 5,000 people come, and all 5,000 were only allowed to come if the doctor had sent them home. If there was still a chance, they would tell them, we've got enough in the clinic now, you go back and try. Come to us when there's no one there, you got no one. And they go to the clinic, 5,000 of them came to the clinic, and they all got cured. They died of other things maybe, but not the thing that they came to the clinic for. First question, have you forgiven? Because you compromise your immunity system by holding on to resentment and anger and all these negative emotions. Any questions?
Sorry, a question. So if you curse somebody, do you get a reaction from it?
Yeah. Yeah, you get a reaction because that's an interesting question. One time Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was told that this guy had died, and they thought Bhaktisiddhanta would be really happy that he died because the person used to disrupt the classes all the time. Whenever he was giving a class, this person would make such a commotion. And he went on and it was causing a lot of disturbance. He couldn't speak properly, he couldn't get a proper sound going. This person was just an annoyance all the time. When he died, the words were like, they went to Bhaktisiddhanta and said, he's dead, he's dead. And Bhaktisiddhanta started crying. And he said, what's wrong with Maharaj? He said, my best friend has just died. So he was taking it as his best friend. Now, generally, if someone does you wrong, you want to curse them. You don't see it as a blessing, you see. So we have to kind of rewire. Because if you may have a belief system that doesn't allow you to forgive somebody, you may think, well, I can forgive somebody if it's not a family member that does it, or if it's not a close friend that does it, I can forgive them. But you have this belief system that if this is a devotee, or this is a guru, or this is a sannyasi, and he does that, you have this belief in you, therefore I cannot forgive him, therefore I'm justified in cursing him, or pushing him down a hill, or when you're cursing somebody, it's really that you're wishing ill on the person, you're really hoping that this person is really gonna. And when Nelson Mandela was leaving the prison, he was tortured in the prison, and he was in there. It was unfair that he was in there in the first place. It was a long time, wasn't it? It was over 20 years he was in the prison. And as he was leaving the prison, he looked back at the prison, and he realized at that point, unless I forgive, I'll never be able to leave that prison. So at that point, he put himself together, and he had good intention toward the people that abused him and caused him harm. Yeah. And when one guy broke into an Amish community, and there was a classroom, and he told all the boys to leave. There was 10 girls, and he shot all the girls, and 6 of them died. And the 3 of the mothers of the girls went to the guy's wife because the guy committed suicide, and they said, "We've forgiven him, and if you want us to stay in our community, I'm going to look after you." And then there was some Archbishop guy speaking afterwards, and he was saying, it wasn't a decision that they made. It was just because of the way of life that they led. They didn't have to make the decision that, should I forgive or shouldn't I forgive? They just forgave them immediately because it was so. We're taking up Krishna consciousness, and we've got bad habits from the way we've been brought up, and we want to get those out. We want to get that tendency to want to curse people and hate people and bear grudges against people. We want to get it all out of the system, and we want to be loving. That's our original nature. We're pure, loving servants. That's what we are. There's no hate in there. There's no envy. There's no nastiness at all. Yeah? And no justification for it. And that's why we have these great saints come into the world and teach us how to be like that. That even if somebody crucifies you, you're saying forgive them. They know not what they do. See, when we first join, we maybe don't think Krishna consciousness is what it actually is. We become a pure devotee, and then we start reading what the qualities are, and what you have to do to be a pure devotee, to be a saint. And it's like, okay, so that means I'm going to have to be like this. So maybe not what we thought. We were thinking, if I could just come and be blissful, and that'd be it. A bit more to it than that. So is that answer your question? Yeah. There is a case where the devotees did curse King Vena, and he died, and then they brought Prithu Maharaj in. So that was only because it was for the welfare of the people in general, and the situation was rectified here. But it's interesting if you look at, Krishna straddles Kamsa and punches him to death. That must have been quite messy. You can imagine what it must have been like getting straddled and punched to death. Must have been quite a mess, quite a sight to behold. especially if you have a very powerful physical form, to punch somebody to death, it's got a strong form. It's going to take a lot of noise and a lot of stuff flying off, going everywhere, you know. But Krishna, although he was doing that to Kamsa, he was simultaneously thinking of how he was going to instate him onto a planet where we'd have a form the same as this. So there was no hate there at all. There was no enmity. There was no nastiness, even though he was punching him out. So sometimes we could look at the way Krishna does things and think, he's just punched him out, Kamsa, and this guy's worse than Kamsa. I'm going to go and punch him out. I'm going to go and catch him. I'm going to go and chase him around the world in Ghana with my crossbow. And I'm totally justified. Krishna does it all the time. Hiranyakashipu. When Hiranyakashipu was on the lap with Lord Nrsimhadev, he remembered his Swarup. He recently remembered he was a doorkeeper in Vaikuntha. And as Lord Nrsimhadev opened him up with his nails, he didn't feel any pain. He just felt blissful. So we may look at the way the Lord is behaving, or the pure devotee is behaving. Bhaktisiddhanta seems very heavy and very, but underneath it, it's just pure love, just good intention for the living entity, always trying to find a way of how to help him on his way. Any more questions or comments?
So you would understand that the reason for suffering, you did something and then you experience the pain or whatever the case may be as a as a reaction. But there seems to be some part of ignorance, maybe not in every single case, that a person is not even aware that they're suffering, like, you know, the society of envy and all that kind of thing. And so such foolish person does not even know about this. So just wondering whether you can comment something on that. You would think that
Prabhupada says that one suffers the next life, but due to being like a blind man, he continues to act in such a way that he suffers unlimitedly. And such a person is a Muda, who simply wastes his time and does not understand Lord's devotional service. So I had it explained that if you break down Duskritino Mudha, how does that verse start? Duskritino. That's the pious ones, isn't it? Duskritino Mudha, Jnana, the knowledge is stolen by illusion, and those who are grossly foolish. Those whose knowledge has been stolen by illusion, those who take of the assumed nature of demons. Anyway, there's four of them. The Buddha was explaining that the Shudra is the Mudha. So he's just a gross out. So for the Shudra, you know, this idea of giving everybody a vote, the highest percentage of the human population is a Shudra. So they need to be protected for their own good, you know, kept out of harm's way. And then the Vaishya is the sophisticated sense enjoyer, Naladama. And then the Brahmin is the scientist, his knowledge has been stolen by illusion. And the Asuric leader is the Kshatriya. So you have the Kshatriya, the Brahmin, the Vaishya, and the Shudra. Shudra is the gross one. The Vaishya makes the money and he's a sophisticated sense. He's doing the same thing as the Shudra, really, but he's just doing it in a four-poster bed, or he's doing it off golden plates rather than McDonald's takeaway trays, but he's doing the same thing, really. And then the Kshatriya is very powerful. He's not afraid of anybody. He doesn't mind going in and bumping a few people off. He ends up being an Asuric leader. And then the Brahmin is trying to figure things out and work out what's going on. He ends up having to make bombs. Oh, you're already bright, can you make a few bombs for us? Okay, then. So he ends up making so that's the four different types of people. Even if you try and make it a classless society, you will have the intelligent, the ones who like to fight, the ones who like to make money, and then just the gross basic Mudha, Shudra, you know. So that is unfortunately the nature of the Shudra. But if he's looked after nicely and he's kept and he works within the society nicely, and the society is geared towards pleasing Krishna, then everything's fine. It doesn't, you know, you don't chop your leg off because it's not as clever as your head. You're not going to get you over without the leg, so it's also just as useful. So everything's fine. It all works together, and every part of the body is fine. everything works great. You don't just have like a body, oh look him over there, he's made up of 4 heads. Why is that? Well, he got fed up with his arms and his legs and you chop them off and he just got heads put on instead because he just wants to be like a really cool guy. But he doesn't walk around much. He butcher every now and again, but he doesn't do much else, you know. So if you just made up of heads, it's no good. So you need the head. You definitely do need the head, and it's really important to have the head. But you need the arms and the belly and the legs. Everything needs to be there. And if everything is led nicely, if the head is good, then the body's going places. So the head, Prabhupada wanted as many Brahmins as possible so they could lead, they could go out and you go and start a center, you go and start a center. The reason it was such an urgent situation, it's called battlefield promotion. It's so difficult, the situation. You just grab somebody and say, how long have you been in the army? 30 minutes, right? Okay, well, you're now a lieutenant. Take care of these guys and go out there, you know, called the battlefield commission. Because the situation is just so desperate. So, like, okay, you're going to have to lead society. Lead society, I don't even know how to go to the toilet. We'll learn quick in the books and get out and pass out a few books and tell people what to do. Oh, okay. Excuse me, you're not the body. I'll have a look. I remember the first book I did, it was Bhagavad Gita. I didn't even know what to say. I went up to him, I gave him the Bhagavad Gita, and he goes, what's that? And I didn't know what it was. And I couldn't even say it, I couldn't even read the title. I was like, it's the Bhagavad Gita. And how much you want for us? Just a donation. And he gave me a donation, I couldn't believe it. I ran around the class and said, it's all about, it's all about. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was really scared. I thought he was going to punch me. I thought if I asked him for money, he'd probably punch me. I was really, really scared. Could you donation? He went, yeah, okay. So, well, that's unqualified, unfortunately. And we're getting a chance to try. Some of us have come from situations which are even less than shooters, so we're just getting a chance and opportunity. Okay, I'll finish there. Let's go with the key.
Jai. This grace of